what are the, let's say, prerequisites for the course if people want to join BBST courses?
BBST is a lot about feedback.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Ru.
I'm Christian.
So I'm Oana. The intention is also to work on the skills.
A good point of time to delve a little bit into how BBST classes are organized, how they are done, because they are not, let's meet in one room for 3 or 4 days and then spread out into the world again. But they're a little bit different, and
Yeah, so the classes are held online, but yeah, like you say, what's different from other typical online classes where you meet on Zoom and spend X amount of time together at the same time. The BBST classes are 1 month long, so it's a much longer time commitment for each of the courses. But they also happen asynchronously, which means that the students get access to a platform, and they get video lectures that they can and other materials like reading materials that they can consume in their own time. They have assignments that they need to work on and then submit. But again, while there's a deadline twice a week, there's not a specific time when we meet to work on a deadline or to work on an assignment or have to do something within the same time frame. So that's kind of something that's very, very different from other online courses that we have. And BBST, at least this version of it, was built, let's say, for online first. So there was no version of this that was taught face-to-face that was then adapted for online. It was from the beginning in this format meant to be an online course. So there's been a lot of kind of thought put into how we can encourage and make use of a good interaction between students and instructors throughout the 1 month period in this asynchronous mode. So the other thing to kind of mention that's really important is that because it's a 1 month long course, most of the students and the instructors for it are working practitioners. So the studying and working on BBST assignments usually happens alongside your usual day-to-day job. So that kind of creates, you have certain bursts of time when you can focus on assignments, and it's the same for instructors. We are not always available, but we try to check often and respond to questions and give feedback and so on. But it's meant for people that do other things at the same time throughout this 1 month of training. So it's not something that takes all of your time, even though it is time consuming. And in terms of the interaction, there's a lot of ways in which we encourage students or even ask them to interact with each other. There's a lot of forums that we use within the online learning platform. There's a meet and greet and this kind of like a hallway hangout space where we can try to create a bit of the informal chit chat that would happen normally on just on the when you talk to someone on the hallway or before the class starts, if the class would happen face to face. But then there's also interaction required from the participants in terms of reviewing each other's work, giving each other comments, reading what somebody else has submitted for one assignment and trying to reflect on their own work based on what everyone else wrote. So that creates a very fruitful kind of interaction also in terms of the learning process. And then we also try to organize some actual kind of synchronous meetings as well, so that we connect better with the students. So once per class at least, we have this we call it a meeting with the instructors, which stands for something like office hours that you would have with your students, where all of the instructors in one class, we may have 1 to 3 instructors for one class. We are all available for 1 hour, let's say, to answer questions from students or just talk to them in a video call like we have now over Zoom or Meet or so like a live interaction, even though it is online, where you can also see people if they have their cameras on, and creates a bit closer connection between instructors and students. And then at the end of the course, we'll talk a bit more about how the assignments and the actual evaluation happens, but there's a final exam after each of the courses, and during grading, so instead of just grading that exam in writing, we give each student the opportunity to book a one-on-one session with one of the instructors where they can get what we call interactive grading, where the submission is and their answers for each of the exam questions are discussed in a online call, again a video call, and that again creates an opportunity not just for feedback, which is also the main purpose of the session, to give feedback on the assignments, but also just to connect and interact with the students and the instructors. So that's kind of the summary of how the course is structured and how the long 1 month online courses are made possible, let's say.
Not only that, BBST is a practical course, but it also, the intention is also to work on the skills, and working on the skills takes time. So when Ken created the course, the structure, he had in mind a few teaching models. And for example, he used and then extended Bloom's taxonomy. So Bloom's taxonomy says that there are different dimensions for the cognitive process of learning, like remembering, then understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. And he tried, and you can also, if you read the details about the BBST courses, you can also see like each of the activities or the main activities that are like touching various dimensions from the ones that I mentioned before. And because we talk about skills, the course doesn't limit itself to remembering and understanding. So maybe some courses give you some material and you go through it and you remember and then understand. But the BBST courses also offer a context in which you apply, and then maybe you analyze and evaluate. So you are working many times not only on like understanding the concepts, but also developing cognitive strategies and models to do specific things related to testing and learning, and also working on skills. And this, as I was saying, takes time and practice. So that's why the course takes 1 month. And also what I want to mention is that we have two kind of exercises or assignments, one that prepares the student for the learning experience, and one that actually offers the opportunity of applying and practicing something.
So before we work on a specific problem through an assignment, we first have an assignment that helps the students acknowledge the problem or understand why do we need these concepts, how do we use them for what kinds of problems. We prepare them for that answer through another type of exercises that we call orientation exercises.
And I think that's really one of the huge differences that when you have a class that takes a little bit longer, you have the opportunity to not just go through topics in terms of one and done, mention it, or maybe even do some exercise applied, but usually you do it once and then you really don't get back to it until maybe some kind of exam question or something like that. But in BBST, you will always build up on it, reapply those things, and you will be working on these things constantly. And that's really one of the huge advantages I think the class really offers. But when we talk about being a month long, I mean, you already mentioned it, but that's not full time. You're not doing the class full time, but you are applying the amount of your time. So, for me as a participant, the question is, how much time should I bring? So what's your idea? How much time should I bring per week, maybe to do a BBST class?
Yeah. So we advise students to allocate between 15 and 20 hours per week. Of course, some students can successfully complete the class maybe with fewer, with less effort and fewer hours spent. But this is the average time frame, and we got this mainly by evaluating the responses from the feedback we received from the students. So usually the students who do well in classes and they manage to successfully complete the class spend between 15 and 20 hours per week to work on like reading the lectures, doing the quizzes, the preparatory exercises, the assignments, and of course there are like mandatory readings and some optional or additional readings. So these are basically the activities that need about 15 to 20 hours per week. But it's a good question. We haven't mentioned that initially.
And I totally signed that off because I just looked up my old blog post that I wrote when I took the foundation class, and that's exactly what I wrote there, that you should have 15 to 20 hours available. And I just remember that when I did that, I made the huge mistake not really huge mistake, but I went to a conference during class time. So I had long nights at the conference picking up on the BBST as well. So don't do that. You don't go to a conference and attend a class at the same time.
And of course, because it's 15 to 20 hours a week, it's great if you can get your employer to allow some of your work time to be spent on BBST assignments and BBST work, because it is a lot of work otherwise if you need to do an 8-hour day and then spend also time on the BBST assignments. And a lot of our students say that this is a time-consuming and it's not an easy course overall, also because it's a long time commitment to extra load. And yeah, it's not easy, but it's apparently very rewarding. I can attest to that, and many of our students say the same, that they feel like they've actually accomplished something. And to add to what Oana was saying about building skill and what you said about actually getting a chance to practice it, we try to follow as instructors how students are building skills and kind of point things that they should pay attention to and that they should improve throughout the 1 month of the class. But what's actually also really good is that you learn some concepts and you work on your assignment to apply them, but then you can also try to apply them in your work. So that's actually a really nice way of getting a deeper level of understanding the materials and then applying them in your day-to-day job, which really adds a lot to the learning experience.
Yeah, absolutely. What I really also like about that part is BBST is a lot about feedback, which is hugely different from many other classes. Not from all classes, but from many other classes. And you can also get feedback on the things that you applied at your work. So you have this kind of things coming together, and I think that is very, very valuable. At least it was for me, but when I took the class.
Yeah, feedback is an important part in the learning process, and we think that this feedback needs to be valuable for the student to actually be able to improve based on that. So it's a good highlight that feedback is like an important part of a class, and this feedback is customized, meaning that the instructors will actually read the assignments and for each student and provide also individual feedback for them. And also students do peer reviews, because in adult learning, participants learn from their peers, not only from the instructors. So there are two sides. First of all, students get used to actually being in a situation where they need to provide feedback to their peers. And also there is a learning process in here, when you go through the feedback and you see what the others are doing. And also there is one more thing to it. So when providing feedback, students reflect on their own answers, how they are different from the other students. So this creates a space for introspection, and we get a chance to actually look at our own answers and say, okay, this is different. Is it better or not? How could I improve it next time? So it's this feedback from instructors, feedback from peers, and feedback from ourselves. So these are the three types of feedback that people get in the class. And of course, the idea is that we also, as participants in a class, we also want to understand, are we going in the right direction, how we are doing like overall. And we do have this also this type of summative feedback where we where the students get grades, but it's a simple structure so that the grades don't become the focus for the course, but the actual learning remains the focus throughout the 1 month effort to get new skills and improve skills.
Yeah, to build up on that, and I also think feedback is a great way to learn not just from the material, but from other people's experience and what they are doing in their companies. That is something that we see in our other classes, that if we are focused on the syllabus a lot, that this learning from others happens in breaks or at the coffee table or something like that. But here it's structurally integrated into the class, and I think that is something very, very valuable.
So you said it might be a good idea to talk a bit about what are the, let's say, prerequisites for the course. If people want to join BBST courses, what kind of do they need to know something about testing? Can they be total novices? What's the expectations from our point of view for our students?
Maybe even discuss a bit about the profile for the students that we had so far, or that we are aiming to have in these classes, even like in the classes with the hybrid in the hybrid form.
Yeah. So I think the main idea is to talk about, well, at least in the beginning, talk about the profile for the people that join the foundations course, because that's also the mandatory one for any other course in the series. And I think a lot of our we talked to a few people that think because the course is called BBST Foundations that it's going to be very like basic concepts that, as an experienced tester, you don't longer you already know them and don't need to go through them anymore. I already told you my personal experience. I think I had over 6 years of experience. I think when I took BBST as a tester, I had been working as a tester. I was working already as a test lead, and the foundations course totally changed my the way I looked at testing, the way I did testing. So it's not like I had some knowledge of testing by that point, but the way the concepts are presented in with the idea of taking context into the equation all the time. As testers, we are always in a specific context. We need to take that as part of our test strategy and include it. And we report to or provide information to different people that might have different objectives. That's also something that we need to take into account in our testing. These, for me, were things that totally changed my approach in my professional work. So even though I was an experienced tester, I benefited so much from taking the foundations course, and I try to tell that to everyone who is worried about the term foundation. It just literally means we're setting we're all going to speak the same language, because again, contexts mean people use different words to mean different things, and we just want to set some of the things, kind of level our understanding of what we name this or that, and then on that build on the materials that Chem has with understanding the concepts from that point of view.
My path was a bit different, because I started from like reading the materials, and I thought, okay, I have a good understanding and I can already apply the concepts on my own. And then when after I took the class, I went considerably deeper into the materials and understanding and the practical part. So maybe some of the participants think that, okay, I just read the slides and I think I get the point. And that was my thinking originally. But for me, like going through the class and interacting with other students, hearing what they have to say, feedback from instructors actually gave me a much deeper understanding of the concepts. And it was like and how to apply it. And then one other thing, if people actually work in the field already, that's quite a big advantage because they can apply the concepts in their projects as they learn them. And if they do that, then they can already have an idea of what the challenges could be, and they can bring them into discussion. For example, in some forums, people started discussions about why some approach or some specific things don't apply in their context, and then there was a whole discussion around that and how to actually adapt and use the concepts and the learnings from BBST into the actual project. So I think it creates, if people already work in the field, it creates an opportunity to apply the things they learned right away. So
yeah.
I totally agree with that. Well, when I took my foundations class back then, I already had a leadership position. I was a test manager at the time, so taking that class really helped me in terms of seeing where I could still improve my team and see what kind of additional knowledge we might need and where we could do things differently just to provide more value in terms of quality and testing, of course. So even if it's called foundations, it helped me tremendously even in a management position. So foundation, I think, doesn't refer to the knowledge level of the participants before, but it really refers to being the start within the whole scheme of BBST, so that you can create some common ground that you can build it up on later on in the bug advocacy and test design classes, for example.
Yeah, and also if students would go directly to bug advocacy or test design, I think my opinion is they would find those classes difficult. Foundations actually help students to understand the teaching model and the process of learning in an online course and in an online BBST course. People get used to different type of assignments, to deadlines, to interacting, to providing feedback. So by the time they get to even more practical aspects that they need to practice, they already have rhythm and a way of working and a strategy of learning. So that's why foundations actually is quite important for people to get used to. The way the courses are structured and the learning happens in there. So that's another thing to consider when thinking maybe I could skip somehow foundations and go directly to test design, for example.
But then also to talk a bit about people that don't have any testing experience, BBST foundations can also be a good course for these kinds of students. We've noticed with some of the ones, we've had quite a few people that have joined with no testing experience. I think in terms of testing concepts, the course is great for that. Some of our students struggled if they were not at all working within a project, if they were not even starting as testers in some company and then taking BBST as their first kind of introduction to testing. And that's because the course doesn't actually get into any details about day-to-day, IT project or software development project activities, mainly because these are different from company to company. Every company will have their own way of, looking at tasks and doing just basic project management, and whoever starts a job as a tester will get the introduction into these aspects as they, get started within a specific context of a company. But the testing concepts, these are still just very valuable, and they will really get a good foundation for being ready to work as testers in a company. It's just we've noticed that some of the people that didn't have a project already struggled a bit, especially in the beginning, to at least until they understand that, okay, this is not a course that will teach you how to, manage your tasks and write test cases and that kind of stuff. It's not about, the It's about how you do testing and how you do good testing and what kind of what's your goal as a tester. How do you bring value to the team? Yeah,
and to add to that, it's probably not about how your very detailed process as how you implement those things in your project looks like. So if you're looking for a show me a process, if I follow this, everything will be all right. Well, no, you're not going to get that. But you will learn as how to think about these things and then come up with something of your own. So and I think that's even more valuable. But on the other hand, what I think what you really need in that context is you need to have an open mind. So if you're, I mean, that basically applies to every class, but if you get into some kind of class and say, no, this is wrong because we do it differently. Well, okay, so yes, thanks. That's your opinion. Either you stick to it, but what we are trying here is to see, well, there might be other things that might be valuable for you. Just be open, try to accept those, and maybe the combination of what we are telling you and what you already know, maybe that's what really helps you in the future. So be open to that, and also and that was really something that I've seen in BBST class as well. You need to have an open mind for feedback. Not everyone's used to getting feedback, and not everyone's used to giving feedback, and that is a very important part. And that is something where you can also learn a lot on a personal level.
Yeah. So just to summarize, the prerequisites are to have an open mind. And then you can have some advantages if you can put into practice right away some of the things you learn. And also you have an advantage if you are open to feedback and take what's there and think about it, how to use it in your context and how to adapt it to your needs. And what's also important is to mention that to summarize that even if people have maybe experience or they already got a chance to read some materials and they know some of the concepts, the whole the course it's a learning experience by itself, and there isn't only about the materials but about the discussions, the interactions, the feedback, working together on the assignments. So that
even in terms of the materials, I think they have, so the learning experience is layered based on where you start from, and you can take things regardless of your experience level, but also the materials, I think, have very different layers. One, I already mentioned, as an instructor, every time we teach the class, we learn something as well. So there's a lot of layers there that in the materials that you can still learn from, even when you've gone through the materials quite a few times, because there's a lot that you miss in the first kind of round when you go through the materials, and then you can go through different layers and still learn something.